you know, we all, and I hope I don't offend anybody here, but we all seem to have had past lives. We all seem to have present lives. What I'm finding at the moment with some of my clients is that our future lives are also present in our lives right now. So I don't know if you want to pendulum once in a while here while I say things. It'll be an opportunity either to take it just as information or to actually pull out your pendulum and try a few things. So, awaken the dowsing spirit. The dowsing spirit is a universal force we can find within ourselves. It helps us be who we are meant to be. It helps us see what we are meant to see. It helps us heal what we are meant to heal. Find your purpose and the dowsing spirit will walk with you. So the dowsing spirit is really an internal force. It is our conscious minds connecting to our subconscious, to our superconscious. So sometimes, and I'm going to tell you my story. How many people here have heard me speak before? Probably most people. So I decided I would tell you a little bit more about me because, you know, I entered the dowsing world in 1999 or so, but like how did I get here? I think most of us come into this community with some kind of crisis, whether it's a physical crisis, emotional crisis, something happens in our lives, I'll go, oh, that's not quite what I expected was going to happen. The normal things we do don't work anymore, so we have to find something else. For me, the dowsing spirit, it's really the biofeedback device, simple tool that is reflecting ourselves back to ourselves. We are the mirror for ourselves. The tool is so handy because when used properly, it doesn't lie to us. Our friends will support us, and our friends don't want us to feel bad. So we don't always get the truth. So one of my tools, besides the dowsing tool, in addition to the dowsing tool, is to ask for the truth. I say, I can handle the truth, please give me the truth, the truth, the truth. And I speak out loud a lot, because I think when we vibrate the words out there, there's more power than simply leaving thoughts in the head. The head, as we know, doesn't have as much power as other parts of our body. There's there's stuff going on there, we can set our intentions, but the power is in the heart. And again, I hope this doesn't offend anyone, but at some point today, over lunch, I was thinking of the power of the heart, power of the head, integrating with the power of the heart and the solar plexus, and integrating the left and the right. And I go, oh my goodness, that's the blessing, you know, of the equal armed cross. I think many of the symbols we use today culturally come from an earlier time, and it's from the head to the heart or gut, and integrating left and right brains. So we're physical. I think this is a message. We are physical beings. We're not just walking around in our heads. And Descartes, God bless Descartes and everybody else, but Descartes, way back, was one of the philosophers who separated the body and the mind and the heart. So it was like, I think, therefore I am. So I will say it. It's as if we've been crippled by our education, that as we removed ourselves further and further from direct experience of the land and of life and of human touch, and we isolated ourselves, we lost that sense of connection to the land and connection to each other, except in a room like this where we are a community and everybody, something happens and everybody just yells and then comes up and solves the problem. But in real life, you know, if you see a neighbor, you're in a restaurant and you see somebody and they've got spinach in their teeth, you're not going to tell them that, right? We let each other go on with our days without interacting. So dowsing is that great direct access tool that pulls us right into the earth, the air, fire, water, into the energy. So we are electromagnetic systems vibrating with wherever we are. Our main issue, I think, to be safe and accurate, and it's all about being safe and accurate, is to vibrate for our bodies themselves, our voices, our minds, all aspects, to vibrate in resonant frequencies. And I think we can do that with dowsing. We can detect and transform. I'm going to move on with my slides here before I do the whole process. So my transformation begins by getting over my own bullshit, right? So there's a phrase, I did the EST training back in the time, S training. Anybody else do that? It was great, right? And from that, I was always special and different as a child. And then I did this was back in the 70s or 80s or something. And from that I learned I used to be different, but now I'm the same. So I was like an individual, you know, shut down and isolated and fearful. I remember in one of the communication workshops, we had to go knee to knee and say something to each other, and I was going through my life terrified. I was terrified of everything until I was about 45. But in this case, I was terrified of communication and afraid of this other person. So she shared her feelings first, and she was terrified of me. I thought, oh, this is great. So I kind of realized, oh, we're all afraid of everything. I don't have to be afraid because we're all in the same boat. You know, we're all human. That's the other thing. It's so important to remember. We are simply human beings doing the best we can. And we are also, we in our group, and all of us, but we are more aware, we're also spiritual beings here on the planet. And in the old days it was easy, I think. And you know, you isolate yourself, you go off in a cave and you meditate and you know, you're celibate and you don't involve in life. But I think the challenge of our generation is to fully integrate the human life and the spiritual life. And it's hard to do. I know in our families and our friends and communities, not everybody supports what we do. They think we're a little crazy, whatever. So that's our challenge, fully integrate the physical, human side and be the spiritual being at the same time. The power of community. This was on the opening ceremony. Some of you weren't here. I'm sorry I'm in your way, but I'll be in somebody's way no matter what I do. There was the speaker introductions. And then Suzanne, I guess, the conference coordinator, said, I want you to turn to everybody and say hello. And in that moment of saying hello, that orb appeared. So lots of us are taking these orb pictures and we're going, oh, what is it? I don't know. I think we're showing emotion a lot of the time, because I notice when there's intense emotion, the orb energy will show up. And this is just taken on a regular camera. I was just sitting up there and took the picture. And then also, I will get out of your way to see this one. This was our opening ceremonies, and taken with a normal camera by Bob, I think. Bill, where is Bill? Bill Getz, thank you. You've got the photo credit down there, in case I forget. So just regular camera, and look at the light on our friend and teacher, White Eagle. And look at the light. This is the ancestor chair. It's not in the picture, but you can see it glowing. And the rest of us are just back here. What was interesting, if you were here on the opening ceremony, we did a little ceremony with the presidents of the societies, the Canadian, British, and American Society, and myself as well. And at one point, we all just went into this kind of warrior pose. And we didn't plan that, and you know, I think we all looked at each other, and you can see it in this. It's like we are the sentinels. And that is the role we all have in our lives, going back out into the world. You know, we have a conference where it's easy to love each other and communicate and do all these things. But when we go back out into the world, we are the sentinels and the warriors. We are the spiritual warriors that hold the peace. And we do that from our hearts. Not from a physical place, but from a heart-centered place. That's where the power is. Boom. So, thank you, White Eagle. And thank you to all the teachers. And this is just a little slideshow of some of the teachers in my life. You will recognize them, that I have found on the Dowsing conferences that have made a difference to me, and others who are here, and others who are gone. There's even a D in there. And of course, Harold. These are, and we teach each other. And I often say we take turns standing up here and giving each other what we know. Because we each have a separate thing to deliver. And I was just chatting with one of the new speakers earlier. If you've never been a speaker, I can tell you that standing in that line on the speaker introductions, and you take a step forward, and then a step forward, and then you know in any second you're going to have to get up there. And what am I going to say? And this is throat chakra work. So you want to be, you want to be in your body when you get up here, and then you want your throat chakra to be open. But then you just, do a little thymus thump, and then just speak the truth. Because we know things that other people don't know. And in this group, we all love each other anyway, so nobody judges. And so we have things to share with each other when we go back into our community. We are the seeds that go back. And just thinking of the societies again, the British, the Canadian, the American society, we are everywhere. We go back home and it's only one of us or a couple of us or a group. But in fact, there are rooms all over the globe where people like us, even though, and Sandy said I taught dowsing in Arabic, I don't teach it in Arabic. But wherever I travel, it's like I'm hearing the same words, or at least the same concepts. It's the experience, whatever, it's the cultural context. We all feel the same things. With feng shui, for example, which is a Chinese tradition, the feng shui practitioners asked me, well, they told me first, we're going into places and we're finding energies and we're not sure what they are. Can you help? So I wrote the little book currently, Dowsing for Feng Shui. But they're dealing with the same energies. Our keynote last night, he's got a system. He's developed an excellent complex system to look at energy. So we interpret these things through our own cultural manner. But really, we're all going back to source. Really, it's head to heart, balanced male and female, and off we go. All those folks. So what they taught me, share what you know. So my first teachers, and I'll say their names, Bruce McGill and Gary Skillen, when I went to the Canadian Society of Dowsers, I didn't know what to expect, and they exhausted themselves teaching me everything they knew. And I'm sure that happens here in the American Society schools, and in the British Society, everywhere, the Canadian. The teachers, they just tell you everything. There are no secrets. It's like if we know something, we want to share it. And then the questions help us all evolve. So let us share what we know. And to be in service is the greatest thing. And that's where the power is. With my own story, which I had arthritis, and I'm going to talk a bit more about that. And for years, I found dowsing, it helped a lot, and I asked to be in perfect balance in all aspects of my being, have perfect health. In those days, I was doing a little message chart, so like a one-person Ouija, which I was very careful with. In my experience, the Ouija board can be a portal for energies to come through, and often the people, especially children operating them, are not trained in setting up barriers and then shutting it down. So energies come in and they drift about. I often meet people and they're very proudly saying, oh, I opened up a portal here, a portal there. Really, they don't know what they're doing. So it is, I say, it's like fire. What we do is like fire. You can burn the house down if you're not careful with it. So hygiene, spiritual hygiene is very important. But being in service is the key, because I would ask, and that's my sigh when I go in. So I'm talking and then I go into my heart. So we can be in both places at the same time. Eyes open. So I asked, I'd like to be in perfect balance physically, mentally, spiritually, in all aspects of my being. And the little message came back, not as long as you ask. So like, not as long, if I ask for myself to be healed, it's like, no. It's like, so that was disappointing, to say the least. So years go by, and I do more work. And then one day, as I'm working with another client who has rheumatoid arthritis, I get the message, my journey's over with that. So it's like, yeah, but it's in service. We heal in service. Everything happens in service. And do the best you can with what you have, where you are. This is Teddy Roosevelt, I think, but it's good advice. I mean, don't wait, well, if I take another workshop, well, then I'll know. Get that tool, then I'll know, or whatever it is. This is the time. You have the tools. Do what you can. And that first step, Spirit supports you. Just take the step. For me, it's like skiing. And I had the good fortune to walk on fire with my friends Graham and Elspeth last Saturday. And, you know, hot coals, and we're looking at the coals, and ultimately it's like, and I know Mark is a skier, and it's like standing at the top of a double black diamond that you don't think you could really do, and then you just let yourself go. You let gravity take you. In the case of fire, you let the spirit take you. In the case of dowsing, as we stand really at the edge of magnificent power, we let that force flow through us. And the force, I'm going to do this all night. I just came up with this at lunch, right? But it just feels right. We integrate everything. And this is normal. Like, we don't have to hide. When I started my practice, it was like, well, please come when my husband's not home because I don't want him to know you're here. How many people have that? Like, come in the back door, come when there's nobody around, and please don't talk about it. Yeah, and for me, so I started teaching back in 2003, live in a very small town, and it was a huge thing to put up these posters and say, this is what I am, and this is what I'm teaching, and this is it, you know, and there was, and my friends, God bless them, they were afraid I was reading their mind. They were afraid. They went into fear because they didn't understand what was going on. So the greatest gift we can give back home is help the people understand that this is normal. All this, it's simply the ability to send and receive electromagnetic energy. Like, it's not that big a deal. We have 5 senses and we have electromagnetic energy. We got into quantum physics. And if we don't do this, nobody will. It's taken us this long. I mean, it's taken this lifetime to get to where we are. And if we don't do it, it's like, oh, it's as if we have to start again next time. And I do say, A, we don't have to die to know who we are. And B, we can do more than one lifetime's work in this body. So we talk about soul's purpose. For me, a lot of it came down to soul's purpose. Once you sort out the earth energies and, you know, our planet loves us and supports us. There's a lot of other baggage, if you will, but once we sort that out, we're in good shape. It's our responsibility to do it. So here's my little journey. I said, who else is clairsentient or clairaudient or clairvoyant? It can be kind of a tough, especially growing up, it's a tough thing to be. And for me, I was terrified of everything until I was 45, as I've said. I could feel it all around me. I'd walk into a room and I'd know it was there. And I was just afraid of everything. I found this is not me, but this is who I was. I actually used to play in a little stool, and I was so frightened of everything. I remember sitting on a step once, and my mother said to me, oh, don't sit there. There's a draft behind you. And I didn't know what that draft was. It was like, that's what I heard. It's like just full of fear because I don't know what it is. The other thing that drove me was a continual experience of déjà vu. How many do that? You know, all the time. And so when you do the research on that, they say, oh, déjà vu comes from having epileptic fits. And I thought, well, I'm not epileptic. And there was no other research that explained this. I do have a theory. I'll tell you now, spontaneously. So we have space-time, and because of gravity, it bends. I should do this with the string, and sometimes it touches and then goes back out again. So space-time is, we experience the present or the future in the present. And I do think that's caused by floating black holes that are just all over the place. And I think that science is maybe thinking that too. For me, it's like, what is the logical explanation of some of this stuff? So déjà vu, oh, that's going to tell you this one. There I am. I had a dream that I was in an office, and my boss is saying, I want you to do X, Y, Z, all these things, and I'm saying, okay, that's fine, I'll do it. And in my dream, I'm terrified because I have no clue. I don't even know what the words are. And then a couple years go by, and then I was in the office, and the thing played out. And by then, though, I knew the vocabulary. I said, yes, I'll do it. But I remembered that. So there's, lucid dreaming and all this. So déjà vu. So that was the other thing that drove me. But before all that, look how young I am. But by the time I was 20, I had a career in art, and I was written up in Art in America, which is pretty big. And I was teaching at the Banff School of Fine Art, and that's me doing my little thing. And I thought, oh, I'm doing so well as an artist, I think I will move to the big city. So I moved to the big city with my suitcase and showed up New Year's Day night. I have a memory for dates. January 1st, 1976, I showed up in Toronto. That's not me, but I look like that. You know, the young hippie off to go. And of course, I had like $35 and was broke. So I ended up in technology. And there's that job. Oh, it turned out I was doing that. And you can see the, you know, the Farrah Fawcett hair, the Princess Di hair, and all of that. So when I was doing the research for this, I found my first keynote speaker gig was in 1982, which is a long time ago. The problem was, I got the Google Glass on, right? It was all about money, and I got sick. So there's that face again. So I look like I'm 16. Do you even recognize me? I don't know. Some people say, is that you? I'm 29, but there's nothing going on much in the eyes, right? Like there's no life in those eyes. No life experience. There's life, but I'm just like this blank slate, pretty much. And I noticed 1982 was when I got the rheumatoid arthritis. So within April 15th, 1982, my hands started to cramp up, and within a month, they were claws and stayed that way for like 20 years, over 20 years. And my knees were bad, and prednisone, methotrexate, chloroquine, diclofenac, and splints and all this stuff. And look at me now, right? 1991, I developed food sensitivities to salicylates and gluten, so I could eat rice and like boiled chicken and cucumbers. It was, salicylates are supposed to be inert, but like nothing was working. In 1999, I found Dowsing. That was my first earth energies. There's a clue. It took me like 5 years, but by then I was drug-free, symptom-free, and recovered to the point. Yeah. Thank you, thank you. But I had to be, like, Spirit had to keep kicking me, right? To do the work. Like, how is Spirit ever going to get you on your path? Because very few of us go willingly, so we often get kicked. So I did start teaching. I did start learning. One of the things I learned, that the autoimmune disorders can be the self not recognizing the self. So I wasn't meant to be, you know, Miss Marketing corporate Canada. I was, who knows what I guess, this is the soul's purpose. What is your soul's purpose? How do you figure that out? Dowsing is a great way to do it. So can miracles happen? This is why we have to share what we do. Miracles can happen. So I invite you to dowse if you want. Do you want to experience miracles? Just check this out, now or later. Do you want to experience miracles? Are you willing to experience miracles? And this is not something from your conscious mind. It's not like, yeah. It's like, pick up your tool and go into your subconscious mind. And it's like, are you willing to experience miracles? I just got a no on me. One of the reasons I get up and talk, this is where I actually do my most private and personal work, because I'm not attached. I'm so not in my conscious mind that the truth can come out. I personally, at this moment, I'm not willing. But check that out for yourself. Do you want to experience? Are you willing to? Are you able to? If not, why not, right? It's belief system stuff. So then if you get a no on any of that, can I adjust my belief system? Yes, I can. So I was able, and this is something, I was able to recover my health in many ways through this technology, and I am grateful for that. And other people who have come into our circle with crippling disease, who have healed themselves, often do not stay in it. Like, they come into our community, they get healed, and then they go off and go back to their normal lives. But then that knowledge is lost. You know, that knowledge that miracles can exist is lost. So again, you know, it's like, what are we doing? What is our legacy? That was the Bighorn medicine wheel up in Wyoming. So here's a little legacy story from my family. This is in Japan, the Japanese Alps. Has anybody been up there? It looks like Banff, pretty much, right? So we were hiking with the family up the scree slope, and the scree slope is just boulders. There's no grass, no vegetation, just boulders. Getting up there, we hike all the way up there and we have a nice picnic or whatever. Then come back down. The next day I go to pay for the hotel and I can't find my little wallet thing. And it's like, oh dear. So search the luggage, search my purse, search, the room. Not there. Then I remember, it must be up in the lunch spot where we headed. And so my son says, well, I'll go up. He ran up the mountain. But I have to back up a little bit. The day before I had said, because he's very gifted, see what I can say here. The day before I had asked him, are you still using the dowsing? Because they grew up with that. And he said, oh, not very much. And I said, well, it'll be there when you need it. So as you can imagine, he ran up the mountain, and he had just had a set of keys. And once he got to the scree slope, he got them out, and he went straight to them, put his hand down. I'll get on this side. Put his hand down and found it. So it was a little tiny black thing in all, look at that. So it's impossible, right? But I had like all my credit cards, all my stuff. He's pretty pleased with himself there. So, and it's great to have the children's program. Pass it on to the kiddies. So psychic protection. So you notice I've got my medicine bag on. And also in here, I don't know if you can see in this lighting, there's a slight orb around it. Can you see that in this lighting? So many dowsers say it's there. If we turn all the lights down, you'd see it. I see a lot of dowsers who are deviceless. They don't use the tool. So they take the energy into their body, and they don't use any physical protection. I'm past that, right? And if you just start paying attention who's getting sick or who's not. So in this particular conference, there was a great deal of protection coming on that. So symbols can be protection. And if you want, if you signed up on my sign-up sheet, I'm going to send you that sheet as well as something else. But you might douse, are any of these symbols beneficial to you? I was doing this with a little group the other day, and the woman said, oh, that symbol is my husband's culture, and it's detrimental to me. So we see, we've got to check everything out. One of the questions I always ask is, am I safe? And if I'm not, quite often, well, I can't say that one. This keeps me safe, what I can and can't say. So geopathic energies, we've heard of that, earth suffering. I coined this word a few years back, geoprosperous. When I was trained, it was always, let's focus on all the bad stuff and let's fight it. Let's just hammer things into the ground and, let's go find non-beneficial energy. But we know from our teaching now, we are evolving pretty quick. We know we create our realities. We know we get what we think about. If we go around looking for non-beneficial energies, the universe gives us that. If instead we focus on geoprosperous energies, Earth doing well, then we find these power spots that give us that health. And some of you have heard this before, but I'll just repeat it again for the group. I was teaching this concept at another conference. A gentleman came into the conference on a cane. He's a working man, and he'd hurt his leg, and he's like that. We talked about this, how power spots will come to you. You don't have to go to Sedona or any place. Where we are right now, we can ask for the beneficial energies that we need that will bring health to our bodies. And he understood that. So we went out on the break to find the power spots in the geoprosperous places. And he said he could feel with every step that the energies he needed were coming into his body. And after, came in 20 minutes later and he put the cane there. So it's a miracle. It's a miracle. If you're willing to have miracles, it can happen. So geoprosperous. But energies are like fire. They can support health, beautiful rainbow, or destroy it. So it's very, as you know, it's very interesting to look into the land. The land gives you clues to what's going on. Quite often you see the non-thriving things. The collapse of the quantum wave, that is what dowsing is. So this is a shot. If you look at, I'm sure a lot of you have taken those kind of orb shots with this sort of non-differentiated image. Have people done that? Or is it mostly, not so many? Yeah. So this, to me, we have a couple of bright ones, and then this kind of vague stuff. To me, honestly, this is like we're seeing prana, we're seeing the life force, we're seeing chi in an undifferentiated, unintended state. And this is a teacher teaching a young girl who's a very gifted child. She was about 12 there. And you can see I believe, these energies are coalescing. So it's like the highest level and beginning of creation where matter exists. And in quantum physics terms, it's called the collapse of the quantum wave. So there are infinite possibilities, and it's not until you intend and bring it in, that's what happens. So intend for geoprosperous power, healing, miracles, and that's what comes into you. And of course, I have a book on orbs, and the bookstore, ASD bookstore, has all my books. So intention, quantum entanglement is another, people, I don't know how dowsing works. I don't know what that is. But quantum entanglement, we know that any two particles that were ever touching, what you act on one responds on the other. If you think back to the Big Bang, it's as if everything was all together at one time and then expands. So that even now, whatever you do anywhere can instantly affect any other particle anywhere at a broad scale. As Einstein said, spooky action at a distance. And that's still, the quantum physics has been around since like the 1920s. It's 100 years since they came up with this. And it's still like brand new. It's very hard for our little brains to put this together. We know intuitively this works. The Eastern philosophies tend to know intuitively it works. And it's marrying with science now. So, but how do you know what you're connecting with up here? Here's a cartoon, the seance lady. She says, the good news is your husband's presence is here in the room. The bad news is he's still not listening to you. So we connect with some spirit, but what is it? So safety is so important. And the dowsing protocol, I did a little talk on that earlier, and it's in all my work. And I have handouts on that. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but basically, my steps are balance the physical body, connect to the divine source, forgive yourself. I always throw that in because forgiveness just rots in your gut. If you can't forgive yourself or those around you, it just rots in your gut. Nothing is going to happen. Clear yourself of non-beneficial energies. This is like emptying the dirty bucket. Maximize your energy field. If you empty your dirty bucket, sometimes you do a work or healing on somebody, you take out the thing. Unless you put something back in, any old random energy was going to flow back in there. So you want to maximize beneficial energies in your field. The permission, this is well known, may I, can I, should I. We all want to help everybody, but we need to mind our own business a lot of the time. The dowsing is the easy part, very simple. And step 8, create an ongoing energy matrix. So with this, instead of just clearing in the moment, we create an ongoing, ever-changing energy matrix that automatically adjusts to the appropriate frequency at the appropriate rate so that we may experience good health, prosperity, whatever our intention is. Because we shift, sometimes we do shift all at once, but often it is a more gradual process. So we ask for an ever-changing, and you do this with all the stuff you do with your pendulum. So for the best and highest good, I ask for an ever-changing energy matrix that will automatically adjust to the most appropriate frequencies, physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally, energetically, in all aspects of my being, in all dimensions, time frames, and realities. And as appropriate, we can extend this to you. And you can create this yourself. That's the new bit of the protocol that seems to be required, that when I do it, any work now, I have to add, and so that the client may be able to generate these states for themselves. So it's not like a dependent thing, oh, I better call up Susan because I'm not feeling well. It's more like, oh, I better work on myself. I better bring up my own energy. So we all have that ability to do this for ourselves. But very important, disconnect when you leave the conference. Like, we've got a lot of energy happening. One thing I noticed today, or over the last few days, that I'm pretty sure people were releasing things, which is lovely for those people, but there was still some stuff kind of floating around, some of this non-beneficial stuff, and it glommed on to a few other people. And suddenly, now they've got a little problem. So this is like washing your hands, spiritual hygiene. If you're going to be doing a practice of any kind of removing, please consciously take that stuff to wherever it's supposed to be. So for best and highest good, I ask that these energies be removed or transformed to their next stage of development as appropriate. Something like that, because I felt that going on more than usual. So we just have to look after ourselves. And when we see somebody, and you can douse this, oh man, they got a little something. You know, you just, Graham did that for me. You know, he said, gone. So if you get it off really fast, it doesn't fester and grow into something horrible. So just, check your friends. The tools give you the ability to do that. So disconnect from stuff, thank the energies, and communicate your results appropriately when you go back home. So this is my favorite part. And we did this the other day, but I always like to do it. Outdated archetypes, vows, all kinds of things from this lifetime and others can remain active in our energy fields. An archetype is just like a way of being. It's a pattern, and it tends to lock into the subconscious and affect us perhaps in non-beneficial ways. And my book, Get Happy, is a lot about this. So without explaining what the word means, and some of you already know what it is, I invite you to check if the energy of the Bodhisattva is active in your energy field at this time. If you want to do that, it's a fun thing to do. I invite you to check, without even knowing what it is, I ask to see if the energy of the Bodhisattva is active in my energy field at this time. So how many have a yes? I know it's a very good. Usually it's about a third of the room. Now you can ask, is this beneficial to me? Yes or no? So who is it beneficial to? And who is it non-beneficial to? Right on. So my understanding is the Bodhisattva vow is the vow to remain incarnated until all sentient beings are enlightened. So that means you stick around, and you're around and around. All sentient beings, not just humans, not just this planet. Ay, ay, ay. So you can, with the protocol, remember step 4, you disconnect. You can disconnect that vow. So once you go through all these protocols and you see what's going on, you can disconnect it yourself. So for those of you it's non-beneficial, you can just check, am I able to disconnect these vows using dowsing? Check that out. And there's lots of vows, the martyr, the royalty. Anyway, you could check to see, since you've got your pendulums out, is your past life energy active in your energy field? Is the energy of your past life or lives active in your energy field? How many get a yes? So we've got a lot of past life going on. And then you can ask, is this beneficial to me? And you get a no. The idea is take the wisdom. See if this is true for you. I ask to take the wisdom from my past life and to release all other aspects of it. And see if you can do that with dosing. Very likely you can. We'll be doing in my workshop, a shameless plug for my workshop tomorrow. We have all day to do some of this, but I want to show you the highlights. The other thing that's come up, check now, I invite you, is your future life energy active in your field at this time. Check, is my future life, is the energy of my future self, is the energy of my future self active in my energy field at this time? How many people get a yes on that? Isn't that amazing? This is fun. Ask, is it your future self between 0 and 10 years? So is it like you up between 0 and 10 years from now? So check that. Is it you between 10 and 18 years? Is the future self, is it you 10 to 18 years from now? Yeah. So does anybody want to shout out a number? What I'm beginning to find, like I've been finding future life interference, is that it's starting at around 14, 16 years from now. Some of us will be really busybodies. It's like kids learning to cook in the kitchen. We're going to develop some ability to time travel and come back now, but we're not going to do it very well because it's the first time we're doing it. So it's ourselves 14 years out are coming back and messing with us. We don't mean to mess with it. It's active in me too. Anyway, that's another thing to look for that not everybody's looking for. Future life interference. Whether it's past or future life, you ask to receive the wisdom of those times. Okay, so I'm just quickly point out the triage. Some of you have done my triage work before. Basically, it's the kitchen sink. I treat everything with respect. I don't fight it. I think everything is lovely and beautiful and perfect. Some things are in the wrong place. So I speak with great honor. I say something like, with honor and respect to my guides, I seek the cooperation of a certain type of energy. And I approach first the neighborhood, the property, the house, elements, ancestors, guardians, on-site equipment. So this is my triage. Triage. Somebody asked me once, is that like you're making collages out of trees? No. It is when you go to the hospital and they say, well, what's the worst problem? So, you can have these long checklists of things, but if you can triage it and figure out what's going on, I usually, within a few minutes, you can figure out pretty quickly. If you've got an issue in your own life, douse this quickly. What's the primary source of the problem affecting me? Is it in the neighborhood, the property, or where is it? And then you can seek to remedy that. Anyway, we'll do that more tomorrow. Higher selves of owners. Quite often, as you know, the owners themselves don't want to fix it up. Looking at symptoms. So it's more appropriate to refer to whatever is going on with symptoms as soon as you put a label on it. I can give an example. Up in a town near me, they were building a cancer hospital, and the big sign on the hospital was, "Your Future Cancer Center." So, yeah, so that's where we're going to go. So it's like never say never. It's difficult to express oneself in positive terms all the time, but if we can learn to speak when things are good, only good, things are just in the wrong place. But what's that? Just move over here. So looking at the cause of symptoms, what's this? Where is the source? Is it physical? Is it mental? Spiritual, emotional, or energetic? So we know for years, I only protected myself physically, mentally, spiritually, emotionally. And I had some psychic attacks that were pretty severe, and it occurred to me, I'm not protecting myself energetically. And that's all we are. We are energy beings. So please include energy in that. And then eliminating the cause of symptoms, you want to find out what's the source time frame. Is the symptom from the past, present, or future? If you find you've got a stomach ache or any other issue, and it's not a physical source, and it's not from the past or present, and it's not from our standard dimension, and not from our standard reality, then it kind of doesn't matter if you take a Tums or not, because there can be other causes of these things. So it's drilling down what is the source of the symptom. So, and I work with the protocols, the earth energies, environmental energies, and psychic energies. So to me, what a wonderful journey we're on. So some of you have fallen asleep. Some of you are a little worried. So I'm going to give you a stress test just to measure your level of stress. And this stress test, you may have seen it before. It is a test involving a picture of two dolphins. Has anybody done this? Oh yes, well you just pipe down over there. So the next picture will be a picture of two dolphins. If you don't see two dolphins, then you need to make an appointment with me because you're clearly stressed. So who sees two dolphins? Anyway, so the summary. Use some protocols. I mean, we all have them and help each other. Use some protocols that feel good to you. Align yourself with the divine source, whatever that is. Don't just pick up a pendulum and go. Align yourself with the creative force. Set your intention. We have to know what we're trying to do. Remember the collapse of the quantum wave. And that's something you can go back and tell your friends, oh yeah, dowsing is the collapse of the quantum wave. And they won't ask you again what it is, because they don't want to know that. Set your intention and you simply ask. So, another shameless plug, I've written a bunch of books on this. But, basically, intention plus physical action equals miracles. And honestly, it doesn't matter what the physical action is. You can have a little bobber, you can hop on one foot, you can eat carrots. It's align yourself with the divine, have the intention, and off you go. Another shameless plug for my workshop tomorrow. We'll be doing all kinds of excellent things. I have a poem for you. A blessing. So, may the nourishment of the earth be yours. May the clarity of light be yours. May the fluency of the ocean be yours. May the protection of the ancestors be yours. And so may a slow wind work these words of love around you, an invisible cloak to mind your life. Thank you very much for your attention. It is my honor to do this.